When the World Health Organization declared COVID as a pandemic in March 2020, overnight, countries closed schools, workplaces, and shut down borders. This left people scrambling to adapt, and remote work and distance learning became the new norm. This unique dynamic had a considerable impact on families who now lived, worked, and educated in the same living space. At the same time, disruptions to health systems put important services like family planning and prenatal care out of reach for millions of women. However, another issue emerged: the ongoing mental trauma that comes with having a baby during a pandemic. Mothers complained of staying isolated during most of their pregnancy, which was really hard mentally and emotionally. We spoke to women who became mothers during this pandemic, exploring how the lockdowns and curfews affected their delivery, and if they received the support they needed during this pandemic, and what that looked like.
It was a crazy year. Oh God, I don't think I would want to relive 2020. I don't think I'd want to relive it. My name is Reni Okoye, Mrs. Reni Okoye, mother to two amazing children. The first one is 3, the second one is 9 months, going to 10 months now. Wow, 2020. 2020 was trying. It was a trying year for me. It was a trying. I can say it was trying, yeah. I realized I was pregnant, not in the pandemic, just a month before. And when the year started, I told my husband, I'm not ready for another baby right now. I want to work on my weight loss first. Then just lose this weight before I get another baby. So when going for the blood test, this doctor comes back in and he's smiling like, "Oh, congratulations!" And I told him, "What? Congratulations? Why are you telling me congratulations? Oh, you're pregnant." I said, "What? No, that can't be." Because for sure I wasn't ready. So just a week into it, and then March comes, and then that's when the president announces, there's a lockdown and all these things, and I had to find a new way to survive into 2020. Yeah.
I was 2 weeks pregnant when the pandemic hit. Exactly 2 weeks. Because they announced around 1st March. Yeah, I was just 2 weeks pregnant. My name is Maggie Muga. I'm an advocate of the High Court and a content creator. And a music instructor, yes. Later on in the pregnancy, now when I got really sick, the 6th month, and I had like an emergency surgery, I think that's when I felt the effect of that pandemic, because my family would not visit me in hospital. My dad had COVID, so they could not visit me just because also of the pandemic, but because now they suspect themselves. And that left me with one visitor. I don't know, that can really mess up your mind when you're already sick. And I just got sicker and sicker until the best we could do is video call. And after that, after I was discharged, they still had to give themselves 2 weeks of isolation, then come visit me. So I really felt the effect of the pandemic, like at the 6th month, because you're having a difficult time and then you're in isolation, and everyone around me was in isolation. So I think the experience would have been better had people just be coming to hospital to visit me. In fact, I was readmitted, I think because my mental state was not even good. That caused more stress to the pregnancy. So definitely the experience would have been better had the pandemic not been there. I think the difference in care was not significant after labor, like that period, but it was significant at the 6th month when I had the emergency surgery. And I was in a lot of pain because my appendix was about to burst. And before admission, they had to do a COVID test. So you can imagine that pain, you're bending, and someone is on your nose. and then I got checked in, and when I was getting readmitted, I was so sick, I was vomiting, and they still had to do that COVID test again. And I was like, it was a difference of 6 hours. And it's not free, you're paying. And even the way the staff, before they like give you proper care, your COVID results have to be back. So there's a little bit of distance, both physical and attachment with the nurses, though they're doing their best, but they also want to protect themselves because they don't know your situation. Yeah, and that time the cases were really, really high. So you can imagine being asked if you've been close to someone who had COVID. My father had COVID. I was not with him, but I was with my sister who was with him. So if you give that scenario, you're treated, you might just have this COVID. And the priority is your results. Though they want to take care of everything else, but they'll still put you isolated a bit until those results come out. Yeah.
The clinic visits, at least we just went to the local clinic because I couldn't go to where my doctor was. It was a bit far, and then there they had regulations, like I couldn't go with my husband. I had to go alone. But with the local clinic, at least I could go with my husband and he could be there to support me. So that one I found a bit easy. And then, but I think one thing was that the scan room, I couldn't go with him into the scan room. It was just me. So he couldn't be there to hold my hand and see what's happening. And every pregnancy you're just scared because you don't know what this scan is going to reveal. So you're there tensing alone and your husband is outside the door waiting. And then now to the delivery, there was a stipulated amount of time he was allowed to be in the hospital, like 2 hours. He was allowed 2 hours. And with the previous one, he was there like throughout. And then I was in a room alone, so he actually slept in the hospital with me. I really wanted him to be there, but he couldn't be there. And he left early. So after 6 hours, me being told I have to stand up now and make my way to the bathroom in so much pain, I started crying because I wanted him to be there and hold my hand. Because the nurses were like, no, we can't hold your hand. You have to walk up straight. You have to walk. And after having a cesarean, you feel like this entire part is it's pulling. There's some gravity pulling you down. And it's so painful. And the nurse is like, I can't hold your hand. She's just directing me, go this way. And tears just started flowing because I started feeling like, oh my God, if my husband was here, he could have supported me. He could have, held me somewhere because I wanted someone to hold me, and he wasn't there. And then I was afraid because it wasn't wards. It was like, they're just curtains separating us, like you and the mother next to you. So I was also afraid that someone is going to take my baby. So I'm afraid of going to the hospital, to the loo, and I have to go to the loo because you're made to go to the loo. So I had to go to the loo, and I'm leaving my just a few hours baby alone in the bed. So I was so scared, and I can't walk so fast, and I'm in so much pain. It was bad. I remember telling my friend that experience was bad because I don't think I want to go through that again. Just the whole process, I don't want to go through it again.
One of my main concerns was when I went into labor, they didn't do my COVID test. It was a different private hospital, so I don't know whether I have COVID. But my very close friend is a pediatrician at one of the private hospitals. And at that time, the maternal death rate was high because after giving birth, you've lost so much blood, then things just go south, only for them later to find you had COVID. So that was her main concern. And I was actually concerned as to, like, with the loss of blood, surgery, I don't know my COVID status, will I make it? That was it. I was not even worried about the baby because babies used to make it, but mothers never used to make it that much. So I think that was my primary concern in terms of, do I just have COVID? And will it affect, like, will I recover even well? And even 2 weeks, that recovery period of 2 weeks, I did not want to be with people at all because I'm like, I have a vulnerable person here and then I'm vulnerable. I want people, but I don't want people. I don't know if you get, yeah. Because I was really sick. My C-section was bad. My C-section healing was not the normal healing. My sisters took it upon themselves to come home. And they used to stay home. And if they left, they were very careful. Even when they held the baby, they used to wear masks. I'm the only one who never used to wear masks, and the father of the child and the child, of course. But they were extra, extra careful. But you can imagine you're coming from a community that this baby is a big deal because this was like a first grandson. First grandson of a first grandson. So this baby was a big deal. So even before I left hospital, people wanted to see me. And I could clash with my mother-in-law because people are waiting to see me. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready to see anyone, because for some reason I also became very, very protective because I'm really worried about this baby getting COVID. So we would clash a lot because I would put people on pause. But then it got to a point when my C-section stitch burst open a bit, like on one side, like and at that point I was still under the care of my sisters and my husband, but they had left, so I was alone. And hey, it's like a horror movie if I remember it. So you can imagine, with after a C-section you can't bend easily. So I just remember hearing like ah, and then seeing like my dress wet. I'm like, okay, I can't bend. My stomach is still big. I don't know where, I don't even know what this is. So I went to the mirror and it's not blood. It's just clear fluid. So I remember thinking, oh my God, how do I deal with this? I can't go out because it's COVID. Plus the baby woke up. So I remember taking the baby, one hand on the boob, and then gently walking to the door because I remembered my husband calls someone outside, Daktari. Hi, Daktari. I never say hi to people, but I learned my lesson. He's the one who says hi to everyone. So I was like, there's 2 Daktaris. One is upstairs, one is next. So I knock the next door and I get the Daktari's child, who I have never said hi. I ask, hi, where's your mom? He's like, she's not here. So it's like, okay, when she comes, tell her to come. So it was like a span of 5 minutes when she came, and she's like, the floor was now wet. I was even sliding. So she's like, what's happened? My stomach is still big. I'm like, oh, yeah, I had a baby. She's like, you had a baby? Like, we start all over from the first. So I had a baby, I had C-section, and I think my wound has something. So first, she didn't want to come close to me because there's COVID. No one wants to take the baby because they are all scared. And then, as a doctor, she doesn't feel like she's the safest person to take the baby. I remember actually she never carried him. So she called the son, and I remember him telling me, trust me. He had to put his mask on, and I think he even wore gloves because they came like full gear. He ran to the chemist, some painkillers the mom sent him. And once I gave him the baby, they just stayed together. And I had to lie down like in another room, flat. Before that, not even her, she didn't even bother with the baby because I was the patient. So she just came with her needles and she squeezed a lot of pus, like you could fill 2 cups. So that being my first encounter with someone who was now not my sister or my husband, it was a really interesting experience because at that time, there's no option. There's no option at your COVID. It's your life first. Yeah, I had to go the next day. We have my doctor check me and clear that I didn't need to go back to theatre. Yeah, so Like for 2 weeks, I had to drain the fluid at home, which my husband used to do.
Looking back, if someone had given me a choice, I could have carried my baby 2 years so that I give birth to them when things are a bit calm. Not that year, not last year, because last year there are so many restrictions, and when you have your baby, sometimes you want people around you, familiar faces, and then now going back home, and that's when it hit me, actually it's COVID, because no visitors came. Yeah. I mean, people didn't come to visit for a long time, and I wanted people to come and help me hold the baby and all this. And with the lockdown, I couldn't get a nanny from Shags. Actually, I couldn't get a nanny, so it was just my husband and I.
After the 4th week, our grandmother gets sick. And this grandmother is very dear to my husband. In fact, they're the same name. And she's also a friend of mine. And she has to be brought to Nairobi. Who has to go for her? Him. She got a stroke. She can't walk. So they're coming, several of them, aunties. And they have to stay with her. You're dealing with people who are coming from up country and don't think COVID is there. And of course, their great-grandson is there. So we had 3 vulnerable people, the grandmother, the child, and then me. And I had to keep insisting, wear your mask, I bought a sanitizer. But for how long are you going to tell your aunties-in-law, or just your aunties, for how long are you going to tell them, hey, wear a mask? Because they're also there and they also want to help you with this same baby. So they want to carry him so that you rest. But then again, some of them never stayed with me. Some of them are going and coming back, going and coming back. And all the relatives want to see how is grandma doing. And for a month, that went on until my baby got a cold. And my paranoia was off the roof, like mother nature. They just become protective. I'm like, this can't happen. This can't work. But then you don't want to tell them they need to leave because they have a sick person and this now becomes your family. But they also need to leave because now if everyone needs to see grandma and baby is here, and everyone wants to see baby because the baby is here and we've been looking forward to having this baby. So that was a hard time. That was a really, really hard time because I can't say, no, you can't hold my baby. I can't also bring a nanny. Where will this nanny go? I had a day scholar nanny who I had to keep reminding, wear your mask. But she can't even afford a mask. So she used to have one mask and I could see her she's washing. So I had to now buy a box of masks so that you just take. But it was a very difficult situation because I ended up being a host and my house would be full. But the minute we got a cold, like my son got the cold, and then I started feeling also sick, we just had to be very protective of our nuclear family and have them go elsewhere. So that was a direct impact of COVID, by the way. Yeah. Because I have never gotten that protective. And, it's sensitive because you're dealing with in-laws. You don't want to look like you're chasing them. You're not. But you're the primary caregiver of this person. That was all for me. Yeah. So after the 16th week, now January, that's when I got my new nanny straight from up country. But I had to really sit her down and tell her the rules because for her, Sundays were not negotiable. She has to go for off. So I had to really sit her down and tell her, if you're going, you have to wear your mask. Because also, she didn't believe COVID is there. And for me to make her believe that COVID is there, I have to tell her, Nani got COVID. My nanny got... I had to tell her very personal experiences for her to understand that it's there and that she needs to take care of herself. So for her, we had an agreement that you're going to wear your mask, be careful, though you can't be sure. But even when she came back to the house, she used to just shower, and then take the baby before anything else. And that worked for a long time. Even I remember there was a second lockdown. I don't know if it was third, but her herself told me, let me not go. Let's see how the situation goes. Then she saw she needs her off. The next Sunday she was like, can I go? I'll wear my mask. I'll do everything, but let me go. Yeah, so it is just to trust that this person has the best interest of the child the same way as you. Because at the same time, people were not coming to my house and not all of them would wear a mask. So who am I to dictate the nitty-gritties? I can just advise her. Yeah, so it's a hard situation when you have a nanny who's always going and needs to go, and everyone needs that break. So dealing with nannies it's been an up and down, because I stayed with her for a while. Then I remember when she left and I had to interview nannies, I disqualified the first person I met because they didn't have a mask. So I told her, you're disqualified because I'm going to my house with you. You don't know whether I have COVID. You've come for the interview without a mask. So I disqualified her. The second one, the same thing. The third one I took because she wore a mask. That was my only criteria. Then she didn't last because the baby refused her. Then I got another one, but now this one has to go the whole weekend. So it still boils down to, again, having a conversation. Please take care of yourself, and understanding that the pandemic is still there, and making them to understand that and to be careful. Yeah. There's not so much you can control with the situation, especially now.
My biggest takeaway is that there's so many things we take for granted, and that is friends and family support when it comes to being a new mom. And it made me realize that it's me. It's always going to be me. As much as it is so overwhelming sometimes, but I'm learning to take it a step at a time. There's no ultimate certificate I'm going to get at the end of the day. The certificate I'm going to get is wholesome kids. So that's what I'm looking at, and that's what has been pushing me to wake up and show up every morning.
So it's until recently that I am learning to make peace with the things that I could not change, that happened to me, and it's okay that they happened because I survived. Yeah.